you?
I am fine. Hey, Jen. Okay, everybody, welcome to the Life, Love, and Money Show with Summer and Jen. Welcome to my fabulous co-host, Jen Fontania, the fabulous certified.
Thank you. I love being on this show with you, and welcome to you, my wonderful co-host, Dr. Summer Watson. And thank you to everybody who is joining us today. We usually go on Thursdays, but because it's New Year's Eve tomorrow, we're here today, and we're so thankful you're here with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We have a couple of really great questions today, and we can jump right into this. But first of all, I always like to ask my co-host, how are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm walking on cloud 9, 10, 25,000, and you know. So I'm doing great and just really excited about the new year. You know, Summer and I have talked extensively about how 2020 has been a blessing. Despite a lot of what's happened, but we were able to look at the things that we can be grateful for. So I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I'm doing wonderfully. I mean, there are so many things that I am looking forward to in 2021. 2020 has been incredible. The relationships that I have nurtured, that I have created in 2020 have been incredible. Incredible. And so I believe that 2021, I am, putting together with other folks, some incredible things like yourself.
Yes.
And there's going to be some amazing things happening with Life, Love, and Money with Summer and Jen. You are not going to want to miss it. We're so excited.
I'm so stoked. I'm just beaming. I'm just excited and just so thankful for you. And like you said, just the people that you got connected to this year. I share the same sentiment, and I'm just really excited, looking forward to the new year, although it is bittersweet. This has been a great year.
This has been a wonderful year. And, I think if we just take moments out of it, I know there's been some difficult times, and we certainly don't want to minimize those difficult and challenging times, but we also want to look forward to, we want to make sure that we address the times that have been really great this year as well. And as we go into 2021, we want to bring those really energetic people, those experiences forward with us, because this is about bringing wisdom, insight, new goals. It's not the aha thing. I never like, okay, we're going to sit out and we're going to have these New Year's resolutions. It's not that for me. Yeah. It really is about bringing all that wisdom, all those learned experiences forward with me to utilize. So that's what that's about for me. But otherwise, I'm doing great. Let's get right into this. We've got some wonderful questions, and let's just jump into your question. And I'm going to read it. So if you haven't been here before, this is the Life, Love, and Money Show with Summer and Jen, and we address your life, love, and money matter questions. This is a half an hour of free coaching. We are on every Thursday. We had to go on, as Jen said, on Wednesday because of the holidays, and we didn't want to give up a day of seeing your beautiful, wonderful comments. And so we love for you to be a part of this. And so we go on here on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube from 11:45 Pacific Standard Time to about 12:15. And then also it's 2:45 Eastern Standard Time to about 3:15 Eastern Standard Time. This is your opportunity to get in your questions, DM your life, love, and money questions to us. We want to answer them. And also, we're doing an ask. And our ask is, our ask. We're asking you to do this for us. If you could, just take a moment to go over to the Life, Love, and Money page with Summer and Jen, our YouTube page, and subscribe, like, share. But more importantly, subscribe to that page. It just takes a moment, and we would really, really appreciate your kindness. So
yes, thank you for your support, especially for those of you who always tune in and catch the replays. It means a lot to us. And there's, like she said, there are a lot of exciting things coming up for the new year. So we're excited to share that with you when that happens.
Absolutely. So let's get into your question. That first question is, Summer and Jen, I would like to buy a house someday, but how do I know if my expenses are too high for my income? I've been trying to cut back on my spending, but I'm not sure if it is enough.
Yes. So great question. And one of the things I think we need to consider first is if you're already asking, okay, I have all these expenses, is it too high for my income? That probably is an indication that it probably is, but let's dig deeper. And so, you know, when we think about the home, that's like the ultimate American dream. And if we don't do it correctly, it can become the ultimate American nightmare. So one of the things I want to do first is let's talk about how do we identify if some of these expenses that we currently have are above your income. And so one thing that you need to look at is, are you in a position where the debt is just overwhelming? Are you in a position where you got so many credit cards and there's so much debt and you're drowning? That is already an indicator of like, okay, you need to take care of that first. So this is something that you need to take a look at. We talked about it extensively about creating a budget and planning and all those different things. You need to see what's going on. You need to get the lay of the land so that you understand like, okay, what's this look like? Because the last thing you need to do is add on a ginormous big expense, such as a mortgage payment. And I'm going to explain further in detail that it isn't just the mortgage payment that you got to look at. There is a laundry list of other things that you need to look at when it comes to home buying. Okay, well, we're going to go back to that. So going to the situation, so debt is something that you definitely need to look at if you still need to get rid of that, okay? The second thing that you also need to consider is, are you saving for the future? Are you even able to have that line item when it comes to budgeting for your retirement, whether, you know, depending on what you have available to you at work, or you're investing in, you know, your own IRA or your Roth or whatever it is, are you able to put away money into that kind of account for the future? And if you're not even doing that, you have to also pay attention like, hey, you know what? I don't even have that going out to my future. Because again, this is about, I want to take on a new expense, which is the home. And we're not going to get into the discussion of whether that's good debt, bad debt, but that's another thing that you're going to be spending money on. Mm-hmm. So then the third thing is also, are you even able to put away money for an emergency fund? Okay, so you know, I was saying the last when we were on Instagram that the statistics show that Americans are about $400 away from a disaster, financial disaster. Meaning, like, if something were to seriously happen, most people only have even that set aside in case something happens, which is scary. You know, the goal is to be at least 1,000, but then on top, like, that's bare bones minimum, and then above that, it's, you know, 6 now. I feel like, you know, 6 is not enough, but 6 to 12 months.
Right. And you know, I just want to jump in here for a second, Jen, because I am a homeowner and we use our AC quite a bit during the summer, right? I mean, because it gets extremely hot in this wet Northern Virginia, DC area. And I had a friend who's also a homeowner and her AC went down. That cost $8,000. If you're saying, right, $7,000 to $8,000, if you're saying that, you know, most Americans are struggling with putting away $400, imagine you buy a home and your AC goes out, or your plumbing system, or that's thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And then are you planning for your future? Are you planning, you know, for your budget and looking at your debt? Incredible. Great tips. And by the way, I also want to put up here, I believe we have that in, where was that again, Jen, where we want to put the number. So if anybody wants to call in.
Right there.
There we go. So if you want something new for the show, if you want to call in and, you know, address something or make a comment, please feel free to call in. All right.
Oh, fun. Absolutely.
Yeah. Totally fun.
Yeah. So going back to the question, so you need to take a look. It's a recap real quick. Is there debt that you still have to take care of? Is there even money that you're setting aside for the future? And then the last one is, do you have money even going to an emergency fund? And so you need to take those things into consideration because those are foundational. Okay. So now let's go over to, what if I want to buy a house? I think a lot of times, especially in my experience, especially going back in the day, because I've been in this field for almost 16 years. And I remember during the mortgage meltdown, well, before the mortgage meltdown, which was circa 2008, there were a lot of people buying homes. There were a lot of people buying, you know, way above what they could really afford. And we're not going to go into like the types of loans that they had, but a lot of times people just got so fixated on, I want a home, I want to buy a home, which is great. Again, the American dream. But what happened was there was no planning. It was kind of like they would go to a lender, get pre-approved, then they would just buy the maximum. So let's say, for example, here in California at the time, even like a 3-bedroom home in a decent neighborhood was around 500,000.
Yeah. Right.
And they would buy all the way to 500,000 because they would look at like, hey, I can make this mortgage payment. The apartment rental is about the same. But the thing is, it's so different. You cannot compare how you spend money renting, where you only have to consider first month's, last month's, and deposit. And then you can't just say like, well, I'm spending this much at the apartment, I can do this at the home, because when you buy a home, there are so many more things that so many people are overlooking. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of list all those things right now, and it's a lot. It's one of those things. I think even myself, when I look back, the first property I bought, I was like 22, 23. It was like around in my early 20s, and I had no idea what the hell I was doing. It was just kind of like, what's that? What's escrow? What we have that costs more money, another expense. And when you don't know what you're getting involved with, it's very difficult because you can't plan. And so this is why you have to know what you're walking into, understand the agreement of the terms and of the loan, everything. And this is, again, one of those things, like, understand, because I'm telling you, there were people that I had visited and met with, and when they bought their home, and then they're like, I didn't know there was a balloon payment. I didn't know the payment was going to go up next year. I'm just like, how did you not know this?
Let me jump in here. This is so important. When this was going on, and this was all happening in about that 2008 mark and before, and people were just scurrying to buy homes. They saw that these prices were like possibly affordable. They were purchasing up to that $500,000 mark, or their mark, that extreme mark, the high ends, right?
Yeah.
They weren't reading those fine printed terms, and they were getting stuck with these tiered payments where they'd end up with a balloon payment, and it's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Then you're stuck, and then you're like scrambling to, how am I going to do this? How am I going to make my mortgage payment? How am I going to make sure that I have funds in the savings account should an emergency occur? Because you're right, Jen, it is not like renting an apartment. It is so different. I mean, I'm a owner, and I'm like, oh man, and if I ever move from this place, I'm like, I don't even want to rent this place. I'm just going to sell it because I don't want to be in charge of somebody else renting my home,
Oh gosh, it's tough. I've been a landlord. Oh, we can say that. Oh, I can share those stories,
right?
So, oh my gosh, nightmare.
Right.
I do love real estate. Don't get me wrong, but I'm saying you have to be aware of what you're getting involved with and the whole business side of it. So anyhow, let's move on. So the other things that you have to think about, there's a down payment. Again, this is not first month's, last month's deposit, and then you move into the apartment. This is like, I'm talking like, 20% down payment type of thing. And depending where you live in terms of state, it could be a huge variance. Like, there's no property where I live low. There's nothing that's 200,000. And I go to the Midwest, and you can buy like a 5-bedroom home with 3 million acres of land. I'm exaggerating, but like, you got a 2-acre backyard. Like, we're happy we got a 10-foot plot of grass. Yeah. Right. So, depending where you live, that down payment is going to be huge. And if you don't have if you're below a certain amount in terms of the down payment, then you're going to have to run into this thing called private mortgage insurance. That's to protect the bank, the lender, because they're like putting, again, it's one of those risk things where like, hey, we're giving you more than you could have put down, so to protect us, we're going to charge you a little bit more. And so down payment is a huge thing. Then you got loan origination fees, appraisal fees, you got escrow funding, meaning you don't just buy the house and there's nothing in the bank account. There has to be the separate account where there has to be these seasoned funds showing like there's months of payments in there. There's insurance, there's property taxes. Then there's title, making sure that the ownership is transferred properly. They want to make sure there's no liens, nothing weird. It has to be a clean transfer. You got to do this stuff through attorneys, depending on what state you're in. I mean, there's a whole thing involved with the transaction when you're buying a home. And, then you got, depending if you're going to a condo or, there's HOA fees, homeowner association fees. That's an additional cost to the mortgage payment. So there's a lot of different things. And again, depending on what state you live in, there's also, you might have to have an attorney involved, which was interesting when I learned that several years ago. I was like, because in California, we don't have to get an attorney involved, but every state functions differently in terms of their state laws when it comes to real estate transactions. But the point I'm trying to make is be aware of everything that's involved. And the biggest thing that I can say is that you should really pay attention to is your credit score. Really, go to the YouTube channel and subscribe and go to some of there's a couple of episodes we did where we talked extensively about credit. And the reason why is because the higher your score is, the better terms and conditions you'll get in terms of percent, in terms of like what you're going to get charged. And I'm telling you, on a big ticket item, like $500,000 or even 200,000, 150,000, every single point, which is also the term for percent, it counts. That could make a huge difference in terms of like adding a couple extra $100 to your mortgage payment. Because your score was low, they're going to charge you more, and that's going to increase your payment. So check your credit score, work hard on getting that really, really clean and high. Talk to a lender, find out where you're at. What does this look like? Because you might need some time to clean up some things so that you can be prepared. And then you gotta have to save. You gotta have to save for the down payment. You're gonna have to save for escrow, all these different things. But you can't, unless you got this pile of money just sitting around. Most people are not in that situation. You're going to have to wait and save, but you don't know what to save if you don't know what you're planning from. So that's what I want you guys to take away from this, is that it's not just this, okay, I'm just only looking at what the monthly cost would be, because there's maintenance, there's repair, there's all these different things involved when it comes to maintaining a home. This is not like you just call up, maintenance and come in. You are the maintenance department.
Yes, you are everything. You're the one picking up the phone and going, hey, can you come in? How much is this going to cost? What are we looking at here? Then you're on the phone calling somebody else to get estimates. I mean, it is a lot.
It is
a lot owning a home. And so I think what you've touched on in regards to really looking out the foundational stuff, knowing what your credit score is, there's a lot of tips that I put in the comments that Jen has mentioned here. So this is why it's so great. If you can catch the replay on YouTube, do it.
Yes.
So many great tips. So Jen, thank you so much. Do you want to wrap up? And
I just want to say, be aware. You really have to stop and look at your situation. It's not this, like, you're not walking into Target buying a gallon of milk. It's not like that.
Yeah.
There are so many moving parts, and work with a team and really understand what you're getting involved with. Read the paperwork. Again, this is not one of those things you want to just like, well, I didn't know, because I'm telling you, it could turn into the American dream quickly into the American nightmare. And I've seen people having to walk away from their homes, stressing about making the mortgage payments and all kinds of things. And then I always had to ask, like, did you plan this out correctly? Did you just buy the most house that you could get? You didn't take into consideration all the expenses involved. And that's what's going to trip you up if you don't do that. So walk into it with open eyes and learn and absorb and really understand what you're getting involved with.
Oh, I love it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's
move on to your question.
Okay. So I wanted to mention to folks that we put something new up, and if you could post that banner of our phone number, if you have a question, if you have a comment and you want to go live with us, please call in 703-883-3999. This line is for you guys to be able to call us and to make your comment. If you have a question for another show, if you have a question for us now, we'd love to have you call in. Let's go on to question number 2. Question number 2 is, Summer and Jen, My fiance acts one way with me, and in front of his parents, he acts another. I don't like that he acts like a chameleon. It confuses me, and sometimes I don't know who he is. I feel like he is being dishonest and living a lie. How do I address this without him becoming upset? You know how I am, folks. I take this back to the basics. I'm going to take you back to the basics right now so we can have a bit of understanding as to maybe why. The why. To me, the why is always so important, right? And we always ask that question, why? Why did that happen? Or why, why are they acting that way? Well, this is part of that reason. So, and I find this to be a very interesting topic because this is not an uncommon happening. This is a common occurrence. So it can feel really uncomfortable when you see that person that you love, that you're really close to, conform to a specific group of person. And I use that word, conformity. It is, if in fact you don't know, it is social influence involving a change in belief or behavior in order to fit in with the group. So that is normative behavior. Someone that wants to fit in or be like, that is the norm. That is traditional. That is very common. So you're going to see that. You're going to see that with your friends. You're going to see that with your significant other. You're going to see that potentially with yourself. You may not even realize that's something that you do. Right? I know. It's like right now. And I like to kind of bring it back to here, just because it's like, you know what? Sometimes we got to look at ourselves too. Do we do that same thing? Are we being hypocritical? Are we conforming? And I know that, a lot of times we like to say, oh my gosh, just be yourself, live in your authenticity. But a lot of times, like, we haven't even taken that deep dive to do that, to understand what that means. And that means, and I'm going to get to the second part of this, and that means like, okay, we do that. And there is that significant factor of conforming. But why do we do that? And we do that because we want to fit in. But the second part of that is values and beliefs. Taking a look at your own values and beliefs. And hold on, let me back up. The second part of that is individuation. And that is, and I mentioned this word, individuation. This refers to the process where a person achieves a sense of individuality, where they start separating their identity from other people. And that means that they're really beginning to take on the world and figuring out how they're functioning in the world, be it in their home, in their workplace, at school, in the military, wherever that may be, understanding how they are maneuvering through the world. And they're doing that because they've been exposed, maybe at school, in church, with clergy, with educators, family, of things that are different, that they had never been exposed to before. And they're taking on some of those beliefs or some of those values. It's time when you'll see maybe like a 10-year-old, and you go through, like, you always say, oh my gosh, why are we looking at pre-adolescence? Why are we looking at adolescence? What's going on with this kid? Well, yeah, they're going to challenge you. Why? Because they're going to start individuating. They're starting to understand that the world is different. It's not just this cosm of being in the home. It is outside of the home. It's looking at different things. It's experiencing different things. It's understanding things differently than maybe you or I would, or their parents would, or their those people that are raising them.
Hey, I want to pause you real quick. Glenn Watson has joined us, and he said, being respectful of the company you're in. So thanks for being here.
Understanding how you maneuver through the world. And yes, understanding the company that you're in. And people do. That's called conformity. So many times we want to conform because that feels better, because we want to be liked. We want to fit in, and we get that. And that it breeds like culture, right? And sometimes we can even refer to this as code switching or role switching. And I'm not going to get into that right now because I really want to talk about conformity. I really want to talk about individuation and when you see that starting to happen. And many times you see that starting to happen in pre-adolescence and adolescence. That's why many parents will say, oh my gosh, this kid is driving me crazy. They're, asking all kinds of questions. They're going out on their own and doing these crazy things. Well, because they're trying to experience the world. And something might happen or what's happening with your fiance is when he goes back to his parents' house or when he gets into these groups, he might be reconforming. And yes, he's done some of that individuation, but the conforming is, I want to still be nurtured by this group. I still want to be liked. I still want to fit in. So it's an opportunity for you to address with your significant other what your beliefs and values are, that this might be occurring and that you feel uncomfortable when you see this happening, and how can you be in alignment with each other, whether that is at, you know, his parents' house, whether or not that's at your parents' house, whether or not that is at with a group of friends. Yeah, it's an opportunity for you to talk about how are you in alignment in regards to your beliefs and values, and how you can be consistent with that in that alignment when you're somewhere else and experiencing something else, say for instance, at your parents' house, at school, with a different group. So this is the thing though. It's important for you to know your own values. It's important for you to talk to your significant other about their values, and then look at how you've come together and you can be in alignment in relation to your values. If you're so out of alignment in those values, then you might want to ask yourself, how are we as a couple, if we're so out of sync or so out of alignment? And I'm not saying it won't work, that your relationship won't work, but definitely do not conform to the point where you're giving up your own personal beliefs or values.
That one's huge.
Yeah, where that is really just, I'm trying to look for the word, where you're just not you any longer. That, you know, you're conforming to somebody else and to their values because you think that they're so important. Remember your value. You have value, and you can have values and beliefs. So when we go back to this question about conformity, individuation, you know, understanding that your significant other is being somewhat of a chameleon and conforming to his parents, you can bring that up. You can also address what your shared beliefs and values are. If they're so out of alignment, then it's up to you to take a deep dive and determine whether or not this is a relationship that's going to align with you and your values as you age and grow together. So there it is. I know that's a tough one, and I like it to take it back to basics and foundation and why something might be happening or occurring the way it does.
Yeah. So important. I love that this is a question that came from somebody that is that's engaged.
Yes.
And sometimes the reality of it is that you are in a beautiful situation where you have an opportunity to really ask yourself some tough questions. Are you really in alignment? Is this something that you can work through? And I love what Summer said about, are you getting to the point where you're almost giving up yourself in terms of your individuality, and you're sacrificing your values? And I'm telling you, I had this conversation with, you know, somebody last night. Yeah. It was that same thing where it was like, yeah, you know, we know what it was like to be living where you just sacrifice so much of yourself that you start to get confused. You're like, well, I'm trying to see the positives in that other person. Well, I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to take one for the team. And then at the detriment of your own happiness, and at the detriment of you losing yourself. And then eventually it catches up, and then you're just not happy.
Right. Absolutely. And that is such a valid point. I get that so many times in coaching and so many times on the Core Women podcast where people are like, you know what, especially women, where they say, you know what, I gave them myself and I gave them myself. And not that they don't love their significant other, but they've bent so far over to one side that it's like they feel like when they reach their 40s or 50s, that it's like looking back and saying, how do I reclaim what was important? And I don't want you to do that. I want you to learn right now, right where you're at right now, that you can claim your value. You are important, and you have values and beliefs that are significant and that are important as well. And you can come into alignment, and you can be in alignment with your significant others as long as you know what your own values are and that you have value, that you embrace that value and you live that value. So check it out. You know, if you've missed any part of this episode, please, please, please go to our YouTube page, our Life, Love, and Money with Summer and Jen YouTube page, and check it out. Again, I'm going to ask you guys, go to our YouTube page and subscribe. Do that for us. We so appreciate you, and we thank you for joining us every Thursday. We're going back to Thursdays, by the way, after today. We just did the Wednesday because we didn't want to miss out on being with you, number one. Number two, answering your questions. And number three, just having a great time with you all. But subscribe, watch the replays, share it with your friends. So let's get to our nugget of wisdom for the day.
Yay!
All right, Jen.
Yes. So mine is more of a challenge, and I want to challenge you all to identify one person in your life that you can either call, leave a voice message, a text, send a card. That would even be like brownie points, extra brownie points. And by the way, side note, Summer is so awesome at handwritten notes. Oh my gosh, she's awesome. Okay.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Yeah, I have them all. I keep them all. And so, yes, I'm telling you, it makes such a difference, especially in such a tech world. That's another episode. So
let me just interject here. Jen is really great at, oh my gosh, what's it called? WhatsApp and leaving messages. I love them. Oh my God, she's the best. All right.
Yeah, we have this love affair on WhatsApp. It's so fun.
We do.
It's so fun. Oh my God. If we could just, not that we're broadcasting it, but if you could only hear some of our conversation, they are like the most hilarious things, especially yesterday.
Oh my God.
So anyhow, my challenge for you is to identify one person in your life. And if you want to do this for more than one person, even better, and just tell them and express to them your love and gratitude for them, and be specific. If you can be specific about why you're so appreciative of them, I'm telling you, I have done this for people, and it's the simplest thing. I leave a WhatsApp message if we're connected there, and it is so touching because you really are showing somebody appreciation. I mean, imagine in a world where we're so used to hearing negativity or being attacked, you don't know how powerful your words are. So if you can just identify somebody, my challenge for you is to tell them how much you appreciate them and that how much gratitude you have for them being in your life. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, that's so brilliant. I do that on LinkedIn, and I voice text people on LinkedIn, and oh my gosh, the responses I get back, just like you said, it touches people. It's so meaningful. And when somebody did that to me the first time, I was just like, oh my gosh, they took time out of their day just to reach out to me and just to say, hi, I'm thinking about you.
Yeah. And you took it to the next level because they heard your voice. I mean, and you've seen me, I have taken it to the ultimate level. I do video. Yeah, I do video messages, yes. And everybody trips out because especially now because it's Zoom and digital and virtual, yeah. It's those extra things. Like, I know what you're talking about. I think we were doing that when we first met. I think we did use the and I get excited because, like, oh yes, another person who uses the voice messaging.
Oh, I love it. And yeah, I forget to use it sometimes, but when I remember, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do like 20 voice messages, and I'm going to reach out to this person because it's so much easier, but two, it's like, I really can. I feel like a different connection. Like, it's a different connection. I've gotten so far away from the voice, and we're doing like the typing and the texting and that I really like the voice, and I like written notes. Like, I love to send out at the time. I love to send out written notes through the mail. I really do.
Yeah.
Like, call me old school, but I think they're so important and so valuable, and they make such a difference. So
absolutely, especially nowadays, it's such a rare art form now.
An art form.
It is. It's a rare art form at this point because nobody does, like, very rarely.
I know. Okay, shall we get to mine?
Yes. What is your nugget of the day?
Okay. So my nugget is, remember, be yourself, to live in your authenticity, understand your values. So when I say that, it really means we have this opportunity. We're going into a new year. It's an opportunity to take that deep dive and check and list your values, understand your values. Go back to our previous probably in the beginning when we first started, we talked about values on Life, Love, and Money. Go back to those original, episodes and check it out, because I do give strategy about how you can actually go and define and understand and write out and identify your values. This is a great time and a great way to start the new year. Start it in alignment with your own values, what you're living in your authentic self, meaning living in alignment with your values.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love it. Love it. Love it.
Woo! We did another show. Woo!
Yes. And we're going back to Thursday. So we'll be back January 7th, 11:45 a.m. Pacific. If you're here on this platform, on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, or you can always catch us on Instagram at 11 a.m. Pacific or 2 p.m. Eastern. It's like, don't you feel your brain kind of like, wait, am I saying it correctly? When
totally left and right using and doing this, and it was like, oh my gosh, I am so serious.
I know these time zones is either add 3 or plus 3.
Totally. So thank you everybody for joining us for the Life, Love, and Money show with Summer and Jen. We really want you to stay connected, because you're not going to believe the incredible things we have coming up in the new year. We have some cool stuff. Plus, you can call in now. Call in with your questions or call in with your comments. We have that number.
Yes. So you one more time, and we'll show this in the future, but definitely there's a call-in number now. So we're excited about that.
Absolutely. There's a call-in number. We're going to have something for prizes. We're going to, there's something else. There are many things actually coming down the pike that you just don't want to miss. So make sure you join us. Thank you so much for taking your time and your energy to join us today on the Life, Love, and Money questions with Summer and Jen, or Life, Love, and Money show with Summer and Jen. And make sure to submit your questions. We want to answer your questions. This is the intent was to give you 30 minutes of free coaching. So we want to answer your questions. Please DM us your questions. All right, everybody. Thank you, Jen, for being here with me today.
Thank you, Summer. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. Yay.
Bye.
Thank you for watching the Life, Love, and Money show with Summer and Jen. Dr. Summer Watson is the owner of the production and coaching company Core Women, LLC, is a doctor of psychology, has a depth of experience working in both for-profit and nonprofit in human services and mental health, is a professional coach, seminar host, documentary film producer, and an author. Jen Fontanilla is a former financial advisor and now a certified money coach, speaker, and has published 6 books. She has worked with organizations such as the Walt Disney Company, Warner Brothers, Target, Goodwill, and the U.S. Air Force. She loves working with women and helps them master their money and mindset to empower them to build the ultimate life without worrying about money. Join Summer and Jen every week as they go live on the Life, Love, and Money show on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn.